comfortable pick for himself, but it means that Caitlyn has made it through once more. BLG not going to opt into it, though. They agree with you, going for the Jinx instead.
Yeah, I think that both teams collectively deciding that Caitlyn is a bait pick, but JDG can still pick it up here. There is a really strong Zeds out that's going to have a lot of early pressure, so that might make them feel like if they're picking the Caitlyn, they're going to get chain ganked bot. BLG will save support counter pick and make their lives miserable. So they're just going to opt into the Jinx Aphelios handshake, is what it looks like here.
Yeah, which is, not that surprising. This has been pretty much the handshake that we see almost every game of the split.
Victor.
Yeah, there's the Viktor for Yagao. This is all relatively stock and standard. Aside from maybe first picking the Viego, not necessarily standard, but aside from that, we're pretty much seeing the usual draft coming on through. And it does mean that BLG have options here. Could go for a support here to try and set up with the Jinx, or maybe go for a mid laner themselves.
What I do like about the Aphelios Viktor combo is that they're basically picking anti-dive with Zhao available and FoFo picking the Akali into it. So tools to deal with these kind of shorter range all-in champions already on the JDG side. So I don't mind the Aphelios Viktor. It feels a bit different than the standard, we're just handshaking this stuff. But definitely the Akali is going to create a lot of excitement. Isn't going to necessarily have pressure in the lane like FoFo usually does, but going to be looking for this pick in side lanes or to get really nice flank angles behind the Aphelios, behind the Viego in later phases of the game.
And it's something FoFo has played plenty of. He's got 20 career games on this with a 65% win rate. But crucially, as you're saying, not a pick that has lane pressure. We've been saying we want to see more from FoFo getting out on the map, being a part of these skirmishes, being a part of team-based plays. Well, Akali will definitely lean towards that style, so positive to see that locked in. The cannon banned away here by BLG. If they ban Gragas, 369 might actually have to play a meta top laner. That would be crazy.
369 also has the Jayce, right? So I think Ken and Jayce are the bans that make the most sense to me because those are the picks that he's going to exert the most pressure with top lane that I think they've had the most success with. But instead, opting for the Rakan ban here. I think JDG, they can ban Thresh, right? They can make Jinx more vulnerable to all-ins. Definitely an immobile pick who will not have the most fun time if the Viego is like flashing at you. So maybe looking for those angles. We've also seen the Aphelios kind of Gale Force ult at Jinxes, even though Jinx outranges Aphelios in most situations and play more like a burst champ. Interesting with the Malphite ban. So JDG definitely targeting the Jayce, as we mentioned before. They played it in their series on Friday to great effect. So looking for that to come out here if BLG don't pick it up as a denial pick.
Yeah, crucially leaving the Thresh open as well, so they can set up for that bottom lane with the Aphelios Thresh. They could also set up for the top side, but BLG not interested in the Jayce or the Thresh. Instead going with a Leona down in this bottom lane. Does mean both of those picks would be available if JDG wanted to lean in that direction. Would lean to a fairly long-range composition with the Viktor and the Jayce at least, although Aphelios not necessarily tying into that style.
I wonder if they're looking for one of these tankier picks to create more appeal or more space if an Akali is going to be flying at you compared to the Thresh, who might just get one-tapped. I don't think the Nautilus is that tanky, though. Actually lost quite a bit of stats in recent years, so even with W, he kind of turned to the paper later on in the game. Will provide knockdown, so this is really interesting. I like this. Breathe. Yeah. We showed the curse OMG clip, picking the Irelia here. It's almost as if we knew. Into the Jayce, letting it go through. Really expecting this matchup, probably because of JDG's recent drafts. I think it's going to be a big highlight in this game, especially since BLG chose to save the last pick. So maybe their adaptation going into this Munchables is that they're going to play to top side. Going to increase that 16th rank for jungle proximity and try to match the skirmishes that JDG want to bring to table on top side.
I would love to see it. Breathe on the Irelia. It's a classic pick for him. As you said, we showed a classic clip of him on this Irelia not long after the rework, actually, that clip. And it's been a prolific pick for him ever since. And up against this Jayce, it's one of those matchups that is to some extent at least a skill matchup because both champions are very mechanically intensive. It does matter how you play that one out. But Irelia, so much of a window to go for a big all-in if 369 oversteps. So eyes on that top lane. And as you say, lots of opportunity for WeiWei and FoFo to try and make plays up towards the top side of the map. When you think of Crisp as a player historically, he is one of these supports that's always been more than happy to get out onto the map himself and try and influence the other side of the map.
Yeah, and early on, right, you have the Nautilus, so they're going to get a little bit of prior there, but after that, the Leona Jinx, they're going to win out on the matchups. So should provide windows for Crisp to get good recalls. Very long backs and roams to the top side to fight the Jayce, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that could easily turn into a 3v2 with map priority. So definitely a lot of attention also paid to the bot side to see how Crisp is going to affect the map overall, especially considering the mid-prio coming out with the Viktor pick. I think that they're going to have to do something because in that case, you could easily change your approach. You can go for 3-mans and top side, right? You can try to get the Jayce to poke the Irelia down really, really early on because you have to play this matchup in space like almost perfectly as Jayce to avoid getting all in after you crash the third wave and having Irelia just kind of commit onto you in that situation after stacking up her passive on with Qs and low HP creeps. So looking to see, like, I'm just hoping the camera's panning top lane this entire game because I feel like that's the pivotal matchup that we're gonna see here.
I mean, when you look at these rosters, you see 369 versus Breathe. You already know that it's gonna be a banger of a laning phase, and I'm fully expecting Breathe to be looking for those opportunities. Both top laners running with the flash and TP as you would expect, so none of the shenanigans with summoners that we sometimes see up in the top lane. That's usually reserved for things like the Camille and the Gwen. But FoFo as well, just running the flash and TP in that mid lane on the Akali. As you mentioned, will not be able to get priority early on against the Viktor. In fact, I'm not sure you ever get priority against a Viktor as Akali, but Kanavi already trying to make something happen down in this bottom side. Missing's going to look for the engage onto Doggo, flashes forward. The stun, though, blocked by Crisp. That was gorgeous from the BLG support. The thumbs up comes out from him. He read Kanavi like a book.
Yeah, and I'm just very surprised. This is a different Kanavi to the one we described. Right? Going for the level 2 gank on bot side, you would think that that's not necessarily something that's going to pan out. It's very much what I would call a flip. So a risk there, committing in, Crisp making sure that he blocks the engage, and I don't know, it doesn't work out, sends him a bit behind, and WeiWei's going to be heading top first unless Kanavi is willing to skip more camps here.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. But, hey, on the flip on the bot side, at least they managed to get themselves some summoners, right? 3 summoner spells burned from the side of BLG, so potential re-attempts available there. WeiWei wants to make some impact himself, though, as he goes towards this top lane. 369 did not respect this even slightly. Not a great flash either. The knock-up should come through, although the acceleration gate, no, will be slowed, will be finished off here. W to do the job and Breathe with first blood.
This is really scary. Now the Irelia has first blood, able to basically get these groups pretty quickly, and this matchup swings very, very drastically when Irelia is able to snowball. Definitely not a situation that I want to be in as 369 now, but really good on WeiWei, and he should have predicted that happening and coming through there, considering Kanavi showed bot, as since I was always going to take advantage of that.
Certainly will. If you give Zhao an opportunity to just go for a gank, 369 way overextended there, and then the flash kind of suboptimal as well. So getting caught out, and WeiWei more than happy to punish that one. But already we're seeing these junglers being really proactive. Kanavi with the attempt on the bottom side, WeiWei answering on the top side. Kanavi almost made it in time to answer. But as such, Kanavi has been running around this map the entire time. You can see he's two camps down currently.
Yeah, and he's falling a bit behind the Zhao, which you don't typically expect that much. Zhao has a nice recall already set up, all of his camps clear, and going to be able to take the level 2 Grump just as his bot lane's pushing in, so they're feeling very comfortable to do this. This could give Crisp one of those roam timers that we talked about. And him going mid gives FoFo a bit of a breathing room in the lane, allows him to recall and be ready to set up a big play, right? Like a very big play if this bot lane crash goes through. And it looks like they might just turn it into a gank.
Might do, or might be denied on that one, as
Yep.
looks like BLG will be able to crash the wave. Missing, trying to hold it, trying to freeze this one, and be able to do so with the caster minions at very least. Interesting to see as well, Doggo actually starting with a cull in this lane, and I respect that. You know that it's not going to be a big, impactful lane. You know it's not going to be that action-packed, so foregoing the combat stats in order for a little bit of extra gold. Slightly greedy, but you can get away with it.
And I do agree with BLG's decision not to make that gank happen. It was full health Aphelios, full health Nautilus, but this is LPL Munchables, so I always have to kind of expect the volatility. I always have to expect them to go for it. But looking at this crisp roam, he is going to the top side. They are going to try to make another one of these ganks happen. Both flashes burned top.
Well, Kanavi's moving up to the top side as well. Will be spotted on the control ward. Crisp in Tri-Brush. They don't know he's here just yet. The Scry's Bloom was popped. They don't necessarily know who popped it. So as far as they're concerned, that could have been WeiWei. Crisp moving in. Spotted just yet. He knows he's not spotted either, as Breathe potentially an option for the all-in here. Ult comes on through. The slow is there. 369 lockdown doesn't have his flash, and it's easy pickings for BLG. But now Kanavi here to answer. Only level 4. And it's a 2v3, but JDG are happy to try and make this one work for themselves. They won't find anything, though.
Yeah, Yagao having to burn the teleport to try to look for something, but 369 already died, right? So this is a huge win for BLG. We almost entirely read this play from draft come through. So very exciting to see it come to fruition. Love the adaptation that BLG are making. They saw the recent JDG series. They know these guys are going to pick Jayce. They're going to play around top. This is how we're going to come to the series to adapt. We're going to give Breathe so much more resources. We're going to make this happen. Yeah. Get this early roam from Crisp to the top side to continue the top step.
And it's so exciting to see Breathe given all of these resources, right? On an Irelia, he is set up for success. 2 kills already. He's not far off the Blade of the Ring King at this point, which is very scary to say at 7 minutes into the game. The price that BLG have paid is Doggo in the bottom side, right? You can see he's 10 CS down. You saw him waving the white flag down there. He knew he could never step into the wave. He knows that he's zoned away for a while, but that is a small price to pay. Just 10 CS for getting 2 kills onto Breathe. I think BLG will take that any day of the week.
And the other flip side of that is that let's see what happens mid lane. You know, Yagao forced to burn that DP. FoFo, pretty even as CS. Almost no punish at all occurred, and then just giving a free breathing room, free back timer. Hitting level 6 and ready to cause some havoc.
Yeah, WeiWei spotted on a ward. He was, again, trying to make his way into one of these lanes. But again, able to make that happen. Just the 1 assist so far. And considering how active both of these junglers have been, it's kind of amazing that between them both, just 1 assist exists. Like, they have been everywhere on the map, and now Kanavi continues that in bottom side, but again, nothing quite able to happen. Both teams playing quite respectfully aside from 369.
Yeah, and I think part of the hesitation a bit comes from the fact that FoFo was shadowing and fog. So not a hard commit from JDG, just want to get the wave in and make sure that they can get position on River here.
Be able to do so, starting to straight off. Red and white weapons available for Hope as well, so even if they were in position, I'm not sure. Was that an intentional reset? Let's say that was an intentional reset since the rocket came through. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Knock what's Doggo here, and the fight already looking good for JDG. Resets for Kanavi, and that's scary for the likes of BLG, but Doggo's going pretty strong right now, and WeiWei actually surviving. Doggo chasing down onto missing a couple more autos to do the trick, but Hope is here. Drops the turret and deters the play, but 4-1 now in favor of BLG.
And FoFo being able to get the reset on the Akali, being in this position on after level 6, looking for fogs, means that even though JDG get the wave in, they get priority on the dragon, BLG don't care. They just want to fight. They just want the snowball. And that's exactly what we see coming through here.
Okay, attempt on the steal there.
Poking ult.
But it's, I mean, we've got to keep our eyes on FoFo, right?
Oh yes, here we go. We see him basically commit in. Doesn't really matter. He gets knocked away, ends up using the W, but he's zoning Hope out of the fight. So even though it doesn't look like he's doing that much during that fight, the fact that Hope just can't auto anyone, can't do anything, has chakrams up, and those chakrams drop, means that Doggo just does so much. So that was almost like a zoning W from the Akali overall. FoFo playing that fight pretty intelligently.
Yeah, great to see from FoFo here, and great to see him getting out of the mid lane, right? We keep on saying every single game that we cast BLG, we're like, FoFo last year was so active, so good, making things happen. This year he's just been sat in lane. Well, this Akali lock-in changes things. FoFo getting involved in the fight. And as you say, the difference was his existence meant Hope couldn't do anything, whereas Doggo was just wailing away that entire time. Sure, he doesn't have much in the way of items just yet. He's still a Jinx. And when those resets come through, when you get excited, you'll still take over a team fight. So really great stuff from BLG, and it's led them to a 1,500 gold lead right now. And they can continue to extend that. Now that they've got the Rift Herald for themselves as well. WeiWei having that in pocket. I'd be surprised to see that go towards Doggo, but honestly, with how strong Breathe is, maybe you just continue piling everything into the top lane.
And the answer to Breathe is really going to be, what kind of CC do JDG have to lock him down? How can we snowball Yagao so that when Breathe enters the fight, the Chaos Storm is so threatening that he can't just run around the fight for free, right? He has to have the zoning of the gravity field. Nautilus has to constantly be saving his ult and his hook to get Breathe. But if that happens, all consider, Doggo has so much space to do damage. We've already seen that FoFo is willing to use his W to create space there. So let's see how this pans out and see if JDG come up with an answer that we haven't thought of.
I love the way that Breathe is playing that lane currently as well. He knows he's got the lifesteal on the Blade of the Root King, actually tanking Shock Blast just to deny CS at this point. And you can expect Breathe to start to build a bit of a lead for himself up in that top lane now in terms of those CS numbers. Already having the gold lead, but just trying to threaten 369 as much as possible while allowing this lane to push in towards his side of the map. It just makes it so much harder for 369 anything, but got a little bit of harass, but at the end of the day, it's Irelia. That lifesteal will keep on happening. Missing, stepping too far forward, trying to get vision of the rest of the team. Moving on over. Missing, has a stopwatch away. Playing front line right now with Crisp alongside him. But Doggo's still going. Oh, but the resets for Kanavi. Maybe this is enough as Hope gets one kill for himself. Crisp over the wall, Gravitum available, but Kanavi flashes to finish the kill. And it's 2 for JDG on the bottom side.
So JDG, we asked for an answer. It is, let's see what Kanavi can do, right? Let's see if Kanavi can get to a point where he's so threatening, gets a reset onto some of these squishy members, and that might be some way that JDG can use to get back in the game. As topside happens. Oh my god.
That is a thing that happens. That is definitely a thing that happens. Rocket across the map isn't going to land. They've seen it, and 369 dodges it. Okay.
Well, just disaster in both side lanes there happening. Unfortunate time, unfortunate cage from Chris on the bottom. I do think this Irelia will still be a big threat, but good to see 369 use his flash on Judicity and outplay that. So we're gonna get the first replay on bot side first. Chris getting me engaged. Zhao crucially just trying to create space. Doggo being able to auto here, but really incredible Moonlight Vigil coming out from Hope. Guaranteeing the reset for Kanavi, and then Kanavi managing to get that second kill. So here's the E. Looks good for Bree so far, but knocks him into the tower range. Oh, the ult doesn't.
Oh, and the flash. Oh, Breathe kind of messed it up again there. Now BLG, another opportunity on the bottom side. Missing, flashes out though. And Hope there to protect his support in the meantime. Doggo sweeping up some tower plates. So BLG still in control, despite things going a little bit sideways for Breathe in the top lane, despite the play on the bottom side not really working out for them. The Herald is a bit late. Just hit 14 minutes, so those plates won't go into the pocket of Doggo. A little bit unfortunate for BLG, but still the advantage. Still just over 2,000 gold ahead. Still the advantage, still first turret blood, right? Still a lot of gold for Doggo, so he's not going to be too disappointed about that.
And they are going to pick up their first dragon. There's not much JDG can do about it at this point. So, eyes on the Akali, eyes on the Irelia to see what they can do. But I think worst case scenario, Doggo's Jinx is going to be a huge threat in these fights, considering how much range he has. And we really want 369's Shock Blast to be able to reach him and wipe him off the map.
That would be the goal. 369 has finished that Eclipse now as well, so will be a little bit more threatening towards Breathe, but Breathe has so much lifesteal. He's happy to just tank these Shock Blasts at this point. Like I said before, kind of protecting the CS, making sure that JDG can't keep up in terms of the numbers. Breathe will only get scarier as well. That's the thing. He's finished his Ninja Stabbies at this point, and when he heads towards that next item, it'll start to get to the point where we've all been there, right? We've all been in those games with a team fight Irelia that just destroys everyone. Breathe is poised and in position to set that kind of game up for himself.
And yeah, we did talk about the misplays, but it does, as you said, still feel very BLG decisive. So let's start to watch a little bit of how they're going to play around these side lanes, right? The new Retailed about to spawn. FoFo getting the spot side wave and going to start roaming all the way. So actually maintaining the advantage, staying ahead on the map here. So good on BLG.
I mean, we literally did a segment to start this off talking about how FoFo was getting greedy for waves, staying too long, and not joining up with his team. This Akali pick, though, meaning that perhaps that changes. He returns down to that bottom side as Yagao going for a full reset. BLG having control of the top side of the map. It's like FoFo will once again clear that wave, start to move on up. He does have his TP available if needed as well, but I don't think they're going to need it. As BLG, really good control here. They'll be rewarded with that.
So in this case, him going back and taking that extra wave when he sees Yagao, really fine considering Yagao, no TP he does. So if both of them are showing in this bot side lane, definitely he's the more relevant character there.
Yeah, and like you say, the TP advantage, meaning JDG know if they start things off on the top side, they will be at a deficit. They will not be able to win that 4v5. So smart play from BLG. And, you know, more respectful play, I think. Like, not being as greedy, not trying to go for the extra waves, not being as sluggish on the map. That's what we've been waiting for all split along. Honestly, that's been the biggest weakness for BLG. So it's positive to see them changing things up a little bit, improving across the course of the split. But we'll have to see. And also, I just want to go back to, we saw the mini interview with FoFo before the game started. And he was saying, like, their read on the meta is really good. The way that they're playing as a team is really good. Which, that second statement sounded weird to me with how BLG have been playing. But looking at them now today, feels like things have improved.
Definitely more coordination on their plays. Even the plays that went wrong, right? The one where Crisp invaded, they had the members in place to try to make that happen, and it just didn't come through. But I don't want to count JDG out just yet. They have the Aphelios, they have the Viktor, right? So you have a lot of short-range champions committing into those carries. Even though we feel like Jinx and Breathe are so far ahead, it's not like Aphelios and Viktor have been choked out of this game, right? They're very relevant, completing their mythics. Kind of probably significant threats in the next fight.
Missing a step way too far forward. He knew they were there. I'm surprised he committed to that one, honestly. A TP from FoFo used that, honestly, perhaps wasn't necessary, but does deny the follow-up from JDG, so still valuable there. BLG get themselves a pick that, realistically, I'm not sure should have gone down there for JDG, and now a window of opportunity. BLG slammed that Herald in the mid lane. They'll get themselves at least one tower, and Drake coming up in a minute as well.
Yeah, Drake coming up in a minute. They can just walk into topside because Viktor was actually the one behind in tempo there. Yagao behind on the play, right? FoFo had so much time to just use CP, doesn't even lose a full wave bot, and they get the pick. Plus 2 towers for what feels like for free. No trade play available for JDG.
Beautiful stuff from BLG, and it feels like maybe the stars are starting to align for the squad. As you said, though, JDG certainly not out of the game, right? They're 4,000 gold down at 19 minutes. It's not pretty. It's definitely not a good thing for them. But they do have plenty of scaling on their side and quite a good amount of long-range poke rate. Like you said before, if 369 can land a few really good shock blasts before a fight were to kick off, especially if he's able to hit targets like FoFo and Doggo, that can certainly change things up for JDG. It is certainly going to be a challenge. They're up against it on this one. BLG, fair to say, would be the favorite coming into this one anyway. But JDG, so far, a little disappointing to see them fall behind in this manner because their early game has been so good of late.
Yeah, and the nice thing here, I really like this decision to just give over the dragon to BLG and to get a little bit more gold onto 369 because 369 shock blasts, as you just said, are going to be so impactful. They're going to be their way of dealing with this Fed Jinx.
I just want to point out that rocket from Doggo. I don't want to like criticize the guy. I just want to say I love the way Doggo uses the ult on Jinx. Like, he's the only player that I've seen in LPL that just uses it on cooldown. And the thing is, he's on the same team as Uzi. And I remember being just a fan of League of Legends many years ago, seeing Uzi at Worlds playing Ezreal, right? And the way that Uzi would use Ezreal ult is every single time it was off cooldown, he would be ulting one of the other lanes to get a minion wave. His teammates would even set up minion waves for him to be able to ult. And the way Doggo uses the Jinx ult to try and steal red buffs every time, to try and steal absolutely anything he can with that rocket, it's very reminiscent to me of the way that Uzi used Ezreal all those years ago.
Speaking of Uzi, I know that this is a big conversation for you and the other regular LPL casters, is just generally speaking, like the Doggo versus Uzi conversation. I feel like BLG's game plan going into this isn't necessarily possible with Uzi, or just what we think of typically of how Uzi plays, because even when he was playing last time, I felt like he actually was getting 2 lanes of farm, and Breathe was kind of just still in the occasional krugs, you know, just seeing what he can get there. So a big part of this strategy being able to function is Doggo just willing to wave the right flag, pick up some waves with his rockets, and still feel very relevant. Know that there's going to be a trade-off for him to eventually get the Riptail, get plates. Just let Crisp take that early rotation.
Yeah, it does feel like, you know, Uzi usually demands a lot of the attention on the team. When we saw Uzi playing, it was like WeiWei just doing that. Hang on, 369's a short flash forward from Breathe. Can he find the stun is the big question, but by lots of things it might be on cooldown. 369 able to answer now. Breathe in a 1 vs 3, 1 vs 4. He's gone too far, he's gone too deep. The Gore Drinker does nothing, and it's just a kill for Hope.
But look at the top side. FoFo getting the wave in top, so I don't necessarily think they can threaten turret. You don't really think of Akali as a really, really big turret shredder, but at least
I don't know. We saw a Hullbreaker Akali the other day.
At least they're going to pull pressure, get an answer, and make sure that JDG is not going to get a whole lot for Breathe getting, put it mildly, a little bit frisky Munchables.
Yeah, just a little bit. And crucially, we've been talking about quite literally the hope for JDG. We make that pun literally every game, and I love it. I'm never going to stop. I don't care. 2-0-2 now, but crucially got a bounty off of Breathe as well. I believe it was 200 gold bounty. I'm not 100% sure there, but will be closing that AD carry gold gap a little bit. 2 items on the Aphelios. And remember, this Aphelios, no matter how far behind you are, we all saw the big ulti from Viper yesterday against Top Esports, where he literally one-shot the entire team with the Infernum. That's what Aphelios can do in the late game. So you can never quite count this pick out.
And we saw in the earlier fight, FoFo using W to create space for the AD carry. Yagao has a similar opportunity with the gravity field. So definitely a situation that we can see play out just in terms of like how these mid laners are creating space for their AD carries to be able to out DPS each other.
Moving into the mid lane. It feels like JDG wanted to try and make an attempt on the tier 1 there, but won't find the opportunities. They're just throwing the waves, and once again, we have this pressure in the side lane. The tower will just about survive, but oh, Yagao's been found, and FoFo finds a solo kill, but he is alone. And he will be taken out for his trouble. Kanavi getting himself a kill, so, you know, does get a solo kill, but also gives up a bounty.
Yeah, I feel like BLG are subscribing to the, the Huni philosophy of sidelining, which is, if I create as much chaos and pull 4 people to my lane, it doesn't matter if I die. It's my team's fault for not being in position to do something on the opposite side of that. In this case, at least, FoFo trades 1 for 1, and his team's coming out of base, so this should be free dragon setup just before dragon spawns. And looks like we've got some action happening.
Oh yeah, it's all kicking off again. WeiWei used the Crescent Guard to try and keep himself alive, but Doggo is just chilling behind all of this. The rocket comes through, and Hope falls as well. Hope is gone for JDG in more ways than one. It's 10-7, and Baron is up on the map. Dragon is up on the map. BLG can go where they like, but I think Baron is the call.
Yep. Looks like the call to me.
So
got the Jinx in position. I don't know if I'm disappointed. I'm just I'm hitting the punctuation. It's when you have to decide between a dragon and a Baron. If Soul is not on the table, you should always go for the Baron.
Yagao missing one, a contest, but FoFo is behind enemy lines, goes for the flank here, and Yagao falls. It's going to be missing to go down as well. And the Baron wasn't even stopped. WeiWei has to smite early just to keep himself alive, but there's no chance of a contest unless 369. No, okay. Can't walk up. And that'll be Baron now. That'll be everything BLG could have ever wanted. And Drake is up still. Kanavi making his way on over. I don't know if he can go for that, though.
We are going to get a replay of the bot T2 dive, right? So they know that there are 4 people on the map. Breathe identifies 369. This time, they at least trade 1 for 1, right? And then in this particular situation, BLG's team collapses in time. They're able to clean up this fight, or at least get another 2 more kills, and then get in position for the Baron. I'm a little bit confused as to what the 2 members of JDG thought they were going to achieve walking into the Baron with no vision, but
I feel like it was one of those moments where it's like, look, we just have to outplay them now. We're so far behind, we're just going to make it happen. Yagao's on that Viktor, which he has been having such a good year on. I can understand the logic at least, because scaling looks pretty good for BLG as well. It's not like this team is going to slow down anytime soon. Anyway, hitting over the wall, Breathe off on the sidelines, and remember, if Breathe can get a big flank, he's only getting scarier at this point.
Said he's going to do what we talked about a little bit before, which is just, if you've got pressure on one side, if one side laner is showing one side and the other one wants to fog, he's just going to pick up some Krugs while FoFo uses his turn to kind of play the strong side game to threaten the tower.
And look at this, FoFo just playing it so safe, staying near enough to the minions that the cannons are empowered. They'll be tier 2 in both mid and top lane simultaneously. BLG doing such a good job of just pressuring every single lane here with the Baron buff. We can see Breathe returning to that bottom lane once again, pushing a wave in. JDG committing 4 people to the mid lane, 1 to the top lane to try and defend. It means Breathe can pressure in the bottom side, and it's just suffocating. BLG layering so much pressure onto Hope, taking a huge chunk there. That's almost half of his health from 1 auto out of Doggo.
And look, bot lane, right? Like, they're actually coordinating these waves pretty well. They're spreading JDG on the map.
Oh!
So you
FoFo
have Yagao
does not
isolated,
care about
and
your
FoFo
toothpaste.
Deletes him, then. Yeah,
beautiful stuff. I think we've got a little bit of delay going on between us here, Kelsey. We'll try and fix up the sync at the end of this one. But BLG trying to finish things off here. Inhib down in the mid lane. Now moving up to this top side where FoFo has already prepped a wave. It's a bit of a blue Peter. Here's one I made earlier from FoFo as they take another inhib. Breathe now pushing in the bottom side. And it's just a macro masterpiece from BLG as they slowly but surely inch this one out.
And it's been a pretty long time since I've seen... Goodbye.
Okay, I think they're actually just going to end the game. That's 2 kills from Doggo. Out of nowhere. Hope's gone as well. This is brutal, actually. Kanavi will fall. FoFo with another one. That's 5-1 and 3 on the Akali. That's the last inhib, and that's surely going to be game.
And crucially, this is a very good adaptation from BLG. Going into the season, we talked about, as they chase Yagao to his death, talking about how BLG, they're not exactly a super team, right? They didn't get all of the pieces that they allegedly discussed wanting, but definitely star-studded names based on last season's performance. This is a team where, in a perfect world, they can play to any of their 3 lanes. So them actually being able to execute on that, them actually playing to their 16th in LPL for jungle proximity top laner and setting up a situation where, okay, we know JDG, they're going to play Jayce. We're going to pick the Irelia counter pick, something that Breathe is known for, give the fans the highlight matchup that they want, and then make sure that we play around that win condition. We play around our side laners. We match what JDG have been bringing to the table and demonstrate that we can do this better, that we belong at the top of the table. And I think that that's definitely them making a statement that maybe will shape the rest of the spring split.
And it's an exciting precedent, this game, right, for what will happen when we come to best of 5s. If this BLG can be flexible in the way that you're describing, can be this team that we all thought it might become by the time playoffs comes around, well, it's going to be a totally different beast, and we could have yet another team vying for that first place spot. Very exciting stuff to see BLG showing up in this way, and also just exciting to see Breathe being able to breathe up in that top side, right? Usually he's forgotten and abandoned by his team, but BLG recognizing, hey, look, JDG, this is how you play. We're going to match it.
I like to use the pun on OMG. He was cursed, but now he can breathe. You know, it's absolutely terrible. But the good thing is that it's not over yet. We get another game of this, another game of JDG to show us what else they have in the tank, how else BLG can adapt, and I think that's going to be a really big test before we just say, okay, this is definitively a better look from them.
Yeah, still need to prove that they can do this consistently, right? This is just the one game that they've played towards topside pretty much the entire year so far, so we need to see this again. We need to see that they can be flexible in these drafts and be flexible in the way that they play the game, but so far, so good this series, at least for BLG, as they go 1-0 up against JDG. And we'll see if the quote-unquote smartest team in the LPL can find something in their textbooks.